Yo, what's up? What's up, everybody? What's going on? What's good? This is the Midweek Report. Here we are on October 13th, 2021. And we got a few things here that we're, probably gonna be talking about in this midweek report. I mean, we're still kind of like going through, all the stuff that's happened from last Saturday night, right? And we had the pretty much the in-depth summary, so to speak, right, about the fight between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Of course, Tyson Fury scoring the 11th round KO victory to retain his spot as a WBC champion. But if you all can, you could check out the podcast that's available on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Anchor.fm. Also, do have posted up a bonus section there with a summary of all the um, pretty much the remaining fights that took place there in Las Vegas, and also touched on a little bit about what happened in Liverpool with the local scrap between Liam Beefy Smith and Anthony Fowler. So be sure to check that out. Listen in, and if you do have iTunes, you could subscribe through iTunes. You can also subscribe through iHeart Radio. So we could definitely go over a few things here and there in reference to what's been going on so far this week. Pretty much, with the fallout of what happened with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Immediate reactions to that. We had a couple of reports that, even with the amount of punishment that Deontay Wilder got, according to Malik Scott, Deontay Wilder feels like he's all good and is ready for the get back, so to speak. And he looks like he'll be pretty much back at it. But Malik Scott also did kind of state that Deontay Wilder did suffer an injury to his hand, his right hand. Had a broken finger, according to Malik Scott. So Malik Scott kind of like is saying that, hey, Deontay Wilder still has to, go through that particular process of recovering from that broken finger. He has been injured before, where he did, kind of like suffer an injury to his bicep and his shoulder after his fight against Chris Arreola that kind of like sidelined him for about 4 or 5 months. So we might get the same thing here where he could be sidelined for about, 4 or 5 months or 3 or 4 months, depending on how things go from his surgery, so to speak. So you do have that. But, given that, Tyson Fury's, now kind of like sitting there at the top of the heavyweight division, so to speak, with his wins over Deontay Wilder, kind of like we'll see, how things go when it comes to what would be next for Tyson Fury. I kind of like feel like this is long, pretty much a fairly long ways out. You know what I'm saying? Before you have like another fight for Tyson Fury. So, I think, people are still kind of like waiting out to see what happens with Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk, as with the win that Alexander Usyk scored over Anthony Joshua to win the WBA, IBF, WBO, and IBO titles. We did have the rematch clause activated by Anthony Joshua, and we got to see what happens as far as like when that will be actually scheduled, when that actual date is. So, just kind of like seeing how long it'll be until, we kind of like see when that fight does take place. You know what I mean? So I kind of like feel like we got the heavyweight division pretty much, out there as far as like, waiting out to see what happens with this rematch between Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua, plus, what may go down here as far as like the thing with Tyson Fury. Yeah, I know about the reports of the WBC situation. As the WBC did kind of like order a final eliminator of sorts with Dylan White and Otto Wallin as the winner of that particular fight would be the mandatory challenger for the WBC belt. And of course, with Tyson Fury being the WBC champion, you might see like if, the winner of White versus Wallin will be able to face Tyson Fury. So it would give a potential matchup of either Tyson Fury versus Dylan White, or we could see a rematch between Tyson Fury and Otto Wallin. And you know how people kind of like seeing how Otto Wallin was able to get in the grill of Tyson Fury and cause a, real serious cut on Tyson Fury's eye, which could have put the second fight between Fury and Wilder in danger. And, some people kind of like felt that, if it was any other circumstance, that the fight could have been stopped, But I mean, we've had, instances where, people, have suffered serious eye injuries and, the fight was stopped. So kind of like seeing, we kind of like seeing this as being a potential big matchup there in 2022 between Tyson Fury and Dylan White, or we have a rematch between Tyson Fury and Otto Wallin. Just looking at other things that are going down, and know that we do have some action that is coming up on October 16th. You will have Mikey Garcia versus Sandor Martin. And Mikey Garcia was talking about, this particular fight, could put me in position to, fight for world title fights there in the welterweight division. But I mean, he had his last fight over a year ago against Jesse Vargas over in Frisco, Texas. I was able to be there live covering that fight, and it was something where you had Mike Garcia being able to score that knockdown on Vargas in round 5, but by the time of the end of that fight, you kind of seen that Mike Garcia didn't have enough to finish off Jesse Vargas, and then Jesse Vargas was able to kind of stun Mike Garcia there at the end of the fight, and then almost looked like a repeat of Jesse Vargas versus Timothy Bradley, where you kind of seen Timothy Bradley in lots of trouble there in the end of that fight before, you had that referee step in and have the thing where he thought the end of the fight happened 10 seconds before the bell actually took place. But, Sandor Martin's in there with a record of 38 wins and 2 losses. Of course, you have, Mikey Garcia with the lone loss to Errol Spence Jr. And, him talking about like getting title shots. Man, I don't know about all that, because, I kind of like talked about this for a minute, that, after the fight against Jesse Vargas, he could have put himself in a position to, kind of like try to fight for a world title himself. I thought that, he could have been in an opportunity where maybe he could have fought Yordenis Ugas before Yordenis Ugas got the regular title. It could have been Mikey Garcia versus Yordenis Ugas for the WBA regular title. And, now look at Yordenis Ugas. He was able to, win the regular title last year, then was eventually elevated to super champion and got himself a fight with Manny Pacquiao and was able to defeat Manny Pacquiao. And now he's, sitting there in the welterweight division among the top guys in the welterweight division with that victory over Manny Pacquiao and handling Manny Pacquiao his final loss, putting Manny Pacquiao into retirement. So it's something there where your Dennis Ugas was able to come up with the opportunity to fight fight Manny Pacquiao there, and also be able to defeat Manny Pacquiao. That was a real key for them to kind of like get that position. But here we are with Mikey Garcia, and yeah, he was able to go ahead and face Errol Spence Jr., but got himself where he pretty much was shut out. Didn't get knocked out, but was still shut out. Had his fight against Jesse Vargas. Now he's fighting Sandor Martin. And you know that Sandor Martin isn't, necessarily a notable guy there in the welterweight division. So that's, all we, basically had there. And try to see if, we could try to invite some folks out there where if y'all wanted to, get in on this thing here, that you'll be able to click on the link and join in. So we're gonna see like how we could try to get that going. I'm gonna post the link on the thing here for the live chat, and if anybody wants to jump in, they'll be able to jump in. You know what I'm saying? I think that people are still kind of like looking at what happened in that fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Kind of like still you're recovering from the results of that particular fight. Some people feel like that was probably a fight of the year candidate, one of the better heavyweight fights out there. So they're like, I mean, they felt like it was a great effort by Deontay Wilder, but Tyson Fury was the better fighter. But kind of like broke it down in the podcast that I did on Sunday. Was pretty much Tyson Fury doing the same thing that he did in the second fight, and there wasn't really that much adjustment there from Deontay Wilder. Yes, he did have a pretty more accurate start in this particular fight, but once Tyson Fury was able to get himself started and get himself on the front foot, and then do his thing where he goes 1-2 and then comes up with a clinch, Wilder couldn't adjust to that. So I just felt like it was more of the same thing from the second fight there. So there's that. Of course, you do have a few more fights there that are coming up. Not necessarily in the end of October, of course. Like I said, you got what's going to be happening this weekend. Mikey Garcia is going to be fighting this weekend. The next weekend, you do have the fight over in Atlanta with Jamal Herring versus Shakur Stevenson for that WBO Super Featherweight Championship. Kind of like looking at things here for the and here we are. It is almost like a few days, about 10 days out or so, and I don't see much for an undercard on this thing, man. So I don't even know how they fit this thing for an undercard. Maybe need to do a dot count report. I might need to strike up a dot count report to see what's going on, and see what's going on with this particular fight, because we kind of pointed out in previous podcasts when this fight had been announced, and then we had a couple of weeks leading into this particular bout that we kind of we're seeing like, I don't know if people are going to be necessarily looking forward to this fight card that's going to be staged at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta. So, and I'm hoping that they kind of like get some late interest of people buying into it, but they're supposed to have, I think, a couple of prospects as part of the card. I think it was like Duke Reagan was going to be involved in this card and a couple others. But outside of that, really hadn't seen much coming from what could be possibly part of this fight card here. So that's coming up on the 23rd. Of course, you have White versus Wallin. That's coming up on October 30th. And then we, get into the November schedule. So those are the things there that's going down and coming up here as we get things going. At the month of October and then November. In November, of course, it really picks up. Of course, you have Canelo versus Plant. There you have, of course, Terrence Crawford. Going up against Sean Porter. And you're going to also have the thing there with Figueroa Fulton as part of their thing coming up in the end of November. So that's a lot of marquee fights in the month of November. But after this thing here where we have this thing with Fury and Wilder, we have a few other fights that are coming up, down the pipe here in October that we're looking forward to. So you want to kind of like feel like I think that you kind of like had a little bit of a high there with what happened between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. But with the things that are happening in the following weeks, it's kind of the interest. I'm gonna be honest, the interest has gone down a little bit. I'm kind of like looking forward to this thing here with that main event of Jamal Herring and Shakur Stevenson. Because man, I'm telling you, I know that Shakur Stevenson is supposed to be the guy. Had fell just short of winning an Olympic gold medal, losing to Robeisy Ramirez. Came in there, built up his record in the featherweight division, undefeated. Was on his way to facing Oscar Valdez for the WBO featherweight title. Oscar Valdez ended up moving up in weight. So Shakur Stevenson got himself a vacant WBO title at featherweight. Didn't really defend it, because after he won it, became 2020. And, he didn't defend it before he had the little shutdown things going on. He was supposed to fight in Madison Square Garden in March. Didn't happen. And then he ended up fighting in June of 2020 and was, moving up to the super featherweight division. And so now, after a couple of fights, he is now the, top contender for the WBO super featherweight title held by Jamal Herring. And Jamal Herring, his last performance was against Carl Frampton, pretty much like beat down Carl Frampton. I felt like it was one of the most complete performances of Jamal Herring's career. And he was able to get the stoppage victory and give Carl Frampton the loss and have that be his last fight of his professional career. So now you got, Jamal Herring on a high, and, they're training over in B&B Boxing Academy, also, out there in Colorado Springs, Colorado, for some time, training for this particular fight. And this is, going to be something to look forward to. I've seen out there in Benton circles that Shakur Stevenson is a pretty considerable favorite. A couple of weeks ago, it looked like he was posted as a minus 700 favorite. I think it has gone down a little bit to about like 670 or so. But that's still a considerable favorite, given that, Jamal Herring is the, the champion, more experienced fighter. And, while people, kind of like feel that Shakur Stevenson is a very talented individual, it's something where like he, kind of like has a few things that he may have to work on a little bit. And he's fighting somebody that is, um, there with a considerable height and reach advantage, and knows how to, kind of like use that height and reach advantage. So that'll be two big obstacles there for Shakur Stevenson in order for him to deal with all of that. We're going to see if that's going to kind of like be, so to speak, one thing that he'll have to overcome in a couple of weeks. We'll see like how that turns out there for Shakur Stevenson as we kind of like get a little bit closer to that fight taking place. So, I did see that they were supposed to have Xander Zayas going up against Dan Carpenter as part of that, fight card. And also Nico Ali Walsh will be facing James Wesley. There, of course, Nico Ali Walsh is the grandson of Muhammad Ali. So that will be included as part of this fight card there. And also, what is it? I think they say here, Evan Holyfield is going to be fighting Charles Stanford. Rodriguez Livesey fights Eric Palmer. Haven Brady is going up against Roberto Negret. And Antoine Cobb goes up against Harley Maderos. And Troy Isley will also be involved in that card. So, Haven Brady is one of our previous fighter that we interviewed here on the Boxing Source. You can check out that interview on this channel. But might see if we could get Haven Brady back in here. I think within the next couple of days or so. I'm going to see if I can work on that before he gets there a week before fight night. So I might see about working on that there a little bit. Maybe in the next couple of days, we might see if we could get Haven Brady on to talk here on the Boxing Source. But that kind of like irons out everything that is happening there for that Herring Stevenson card. So that kind of like irons that out. There was like trying to see if there is more information about Terrence Crawford versus Sean Porter. They have something slated for that undercard. Of course, he did have the press conference that did take place, on the weekend or over the weekend. So I'm definitely looking forward to that particular fight. That's going to be one thing that we're kind of seeing if Terrence Crawford will be able to step up and defeat a top 5 fighter. So I did speak on this in reference to that fight. Like, a lot of people kind of like feel like Terrence Crawford is going to, run through Sean Porter. And I'm like, well, we haven't really had any instance where in a top 5 battle of the welterweight division that kind of like ended in the knockout. Like I can't really, remember any instance of that happening, especially in recent times. So still, like kind of like waiting on the thing there for what would be a definitive answer to that. But, outside of that, man, we kind of, seeing things kind of winding down here near the end of the year. We like I said, we had that schedule that's for the remaining part of October, going into November. Like I said, Canelo versus Plant. We have not Shakur Stevenson, but Terrence Crawford versus Sean Porter. You have Fulton Figueroa. That's going to be happening there. I think you also have Benavidez there versus Uzcategui. That's going to be, part of it. So I think it's going to be their Canelo Plant, then Benavidez Uzcategui, Then it'll be Crawford versus Porter, and then it'll be Fulton Figueroa, and that is the schedule there for November. Also, it had been posted over the weekend that Gervonta Tank Davis will be facing Rolando Rolly Romero in December. So we are looking forward to that particular bout taking place. That's going to be something that I'm definitely looking forward to. We kind of just been waiting for Rolly Romero to have a fight of this caliber. It was either going to be Rolly or maybe somebody else. Like that would be around there. I mean, some people thought it would be like Isaac Cruz Gonzalez as an opponent for Tank Davis, but nope. They just said, you know what, we're gonna go right into it. Rolly Romero, so unbeaten. That's gonna be, I think it's gonna be a crazy fight for as long as it lasts. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Somebody's going to get knocked out. Somebody is going to get knocked out in that fight. You know what I'm saying? I think that it is, one thing that, we're kind of like, seeing there that you have, of course, Mr. Sign Up for KO's Rolly Romero and Gervonta Tank Davis, who had been, stopping almost like everybody there within the super featherweight or lightweight divisions, and he had his last fight at super lightweight against Mario Barrios. Was able to knock out Mario Barrios over in Atlanta in in June. So this is his next fight. Be another pay-per-view fight. I think they kind of like felt like they got good returns on the Davis versus Barrios fight card. So they're gonna, go at it again here with Davis and Rolly Romero. So definitely looking forward to that fight that will be coming up in December. So that's one thing that we're looking forward to. So I mean, kind of like feel like this is a little bit of a thing here where we kind of like now see more of the fighters from these lower weight divisions are now getting a bigger spotlight. Of course, we have the heavyweight division. We had the spotlight fights in the heavyweight division out of the way. Now it's time for more of the spotlight to go in the lower divisions, and the two high-profile fights to me there, of course, Canelo versus playing for the undisputed super middleweight championships, and Terrence Crawford versus Shawn Porter for the WBO welterweight championship. That's going to be a real good fight. So I don't think people should miss it. I think it should be a sellout. It should be a sellout. If people want to see a real fight, Crawford Porter is going to be that real fight, and for me, and it ain't that bad, to get tickets out there, man. Like, full seating is like around $500, so $550. So, folks could, if you want, I mean, that you're gonna go and see a fight. I mean, Shawn Porter's always been in good fights. Always been in good little scraps. So now he's going up against Terrence Crawford, of course, kind of like considered among the top three pound for pound fighters in the sport, and had been, knocking out everybody that he's faced in the welterweight division up to this point. And so we're going to see if he's going to be able to do what no one has been able to do in the welterweight division, and that is stop Shawn Porter. So we're going to see how that basically turns out. And with that being said, I mean, that kind of like covers everything here for the midweek report. Just went over everything that could be possibly done up to this juncture. So just be sure to catch the podcast that's available on iTunes and all the um, streaming platforms that are out there. You know, the iTunes, iHeartRadios, the Google Podcasts, Spotify is on Spotify too. But in the meantime, I will check y'all out later. And till then, peace out.